Okay, so we're starting a video here on basically how they're poisoning the the water supply. So, what essentially to make people take the mark of the beast, they're going to be deliberately poisoning this place, and they're slowly doing it now. You can find many examples of it. It's just a slow process because if they do it slowly, people aren't going to pick up on it and not think it's deliberate. They're also they can blame so many other things. They can blame natural toxins in the water, for example, heavy metals somewhere nearby, that kind of thing. But I mean, there's a lot of examples of it. I mean, take a look at like Michigan, where I used to live. Like the Saginaw River in the 70s used to not freeze because of how much pollution there was in there. But and so all that water then went out to Lake Huron. Um, so basically, that's kind of what the deal is. And then you also have like DDT in Midland, Michigan, where that's from Agent Orange manufacturing. It's in the soil there where you can't really grow your own food in Midland. And it's a slow process, basically. There's a lot of other examples. Fukushima also might be man-made. There's debate on that. I can briefly describe it here. The Japanese had an argument with the Americans that they want to be repaid in gold and silver rather than in U.S. dollars because they thought the U.S. dollar might fail at some point. That's supposedly the gist of it, and then they got hit with a tidal wave. So when people in the elites don't get along, that's kind of what they've been sending lately, are these freak of nature storms. So anyway, so let's talk about this here. This is how they would get people to take the mark of the beast. They're going to pollute the place so this way you're going to want to get replacements. You're going to want to put yourself in an avatar, or maybe replace your brain even, because they're putting aluminum in the chemtrails and or fluoride in the water, which decays your brain. So essentially, tritium is in the water, sometimes near places like Indian Point, which is a nuclear plant in, I believe it's in New York. There's a lot of other nuke plants like 3 Mile Island, various other places where, nearby you might find some tritium in the water. And there's that tritium will then diffuse throughout the water table nationally a bit. And how do you get that tritium there? Possibly from nuke plants. I mean, this is just a speculation, mind you. This is just an example maybe of them putting the truth in plants. I'm not saying this is definite, but I do know for a fact that there's definitely tritium in the water in some places. So anyway, make a long story short, this would be the Illuminati putting the truth in plain sight. We have here Jacob Rothschild, who looks a lot like Mr. Burns, okay? And we'll show you other pictures of that real quickly here too as well. See, he looks like pretty much like, Mr. Burns. So this kind of shows you who's pulling the strings here to basically, get the job done, basically, as far as, poisoning this place. So Jacob Rothschild is Mr. Burns. So that being said, he might, maybe him or other people surrounding him have the power to then pay off people at the nuke plants to then basically see things. I don't know how the water is dealt with there, but I know that the water in the reactor kind of has to stay there. But what they could do is drain it a little bit and then put more water on top of it in there. So because you have to keep water in there, or you have to remove the rods, because that's the only way you can really get the water out, is like to basically either drain it a little bit and then put more water in. Because if you think about it, because you can't have hot uranium rods in there without water, you'll have a meltdown. So they have to keep water in there at all times, or they have to remove the rods. So, and the thing is, I don't know how they would contain the rods. They'd have to make sure the rods are cool, of course. So that's how they would probably get the water out, is they would drain it a little, or they drain it entirely and then just dump the water into the water table, essentially into nearby rivers and streams, that kind of thing. And then it's then in the water supply. So anyway, that's essentially it. And then we have, to prove this, we have the fact that, he looks like, Jacob Rothschild looks like, Mr. Burns. And Mr. Burns owns the nuclear power plant in The Simpsons. So we have that. And we also have, things like the three-eyed fish. Yeah, you see what I mean? A three-eyed fish. That's from the water, and then here's other examples of it too. You'll see this in the introduction for The Simpsons, whereby they have, this three-eyed fish popping out of the pond near the nuclear power plant. And this is showing you that they're poisoning the place, because how else would you get a three-eyed fish there? So that's kind of like the deal on that. So